No, Mike. I love Tron more than you do.
It's cute, you think that, but you don't.
Like, I've been here, like,
okay,
OG
listen.
In the womb.
You're not listening
Tron,
to me.
greetings programs.
You're not listening to me.
All right, I fight for the users.
Listen, I love Tron more. End of line. Hey, hi, hello, welcome. Have a seat, listener.
Hey, welcome, pilgrims. Greetings programs.
Okay, I love Tron more than you do, but we'll talk about that.
We'll shelve this later.
We'll shelve this for another time. But yes, welcome, hello. Welcome back, pilgrims, to the third episode of the Wanderer's Rest podcast. I, as always, am Mike.
And I am Tyler.
Okay. Like, I wish you could see the face he makes when he does that stupid voice.
Dude,
I am Tyler.
A dungeon master, alright, you contort your whole face, alright? You don't just do it like a voice or whatever, you're doing an impression, so you're like...
I get that, but just like you stare off into the middle distance. You're like, I am Tyler.
Yeah, you need like smolder if you're gonna do that. Like, I am Tyler. You know, like I need to use like my trailer movie man voice or whatever. Like
in a
this
world.
summer. Yeah, exactly.
In a world where DMs are kind of okay.
In a world where DMs actually get the respect they deserve and can play every once in a while. That's so much to ask.
It is. Anyway, before we delve into our trailer voices of fake movies about DMs actually getting to play once in a while, which is just, very rare.
That's complete fantasy.
That's the
real
fantasy. That's the real fantasy. DMs getting to play, getting a full night's rest, and hanging out with friends. That is the fantasy. But before we get too far into that, we have a pretty good topic to talk about today.
Alignment, right?
Yeah. So a lot of people have talked about this topic in the past. It's the topic of alignment.
Diving right into the deep end of
diving right on in. It's like
conversation.
Yeah. So last week's podcast. I don't know.
Yeah, I always get to it and sit down, and it's always like days afterwards, and I'm like datily challenged.
Yeah.
As in like the date, I don't know like when was that? That was like a day or two ago?
Last episode 2.
On the last file for our last podcast.
I didn't see that.
I saw like the 14th-ish.
Yes, we didn't remember the day that we actually recorded it.
I'm terrible.
But so last time we talked about we had a user submission, I guess? Yeah, viewer submission. There we go. Of fighting burnout. This time we're going off of one of the topics that got brought up last time, which was alignment. So for those of you who do not know, in many tabletop role-playing games, I don't think alignment is specific to just D&D.
First of all, if you don't know, I mean, like, why are you listening to this podcast? You need to...
stay. Keep listening. There's candy at the end of the podcast. Don't leave.
Yeah. So alignment's one of those things that, like, I don't think it very often, at least, comes up as, like, a mechanic. It mostly just, like, choose whatever alignment. And then most of the time I see people that really aren't playing that alignment at all. But you just sort of, like, kind of...
It does come up some ways with alignments.
It's really just paladins. Like, just
it's
paladins
very rare.
And clerics
for
and stuff.
any detect good and evil, things like that. But it only ever comes up with evil and good. It doesn't come up with, like, lawful or...
Yeah, I think that a lot of people sort of treat law and chaos as like, whatever, that's sort of like your basic thing or whatever. But law and chaos are also forces in the universe as much as good and evil are. So I've said this a lot. I don't know if this is actually true, but I feel like the main influence on alignment in Dungeons and Dragons was brought over by Michael Moorcock, right? Which I know you haven't read at all.
Are you saying I don't read books?
I'm saying that you do read. I understand that you read. It's just Michael Moorcock, Elric of Melniboné.
I read good.
Okay. I read good.
I think I remember hearing of it, but I have not read it now.
So, law and chaos are the greater conflict in that story. They're spoken of more than... who was that?
That was my computer.
Okay. They're spoken of more than... good and evil are. Good and evil are almost like completely non-existent. But law and chaos are this total, like, in this, like, tug of war and stuff over the universe because, everything starts out, the world started out in a more lawful state, and it is its fate to fall into chaos and disarray and everything.
Yeah.
It's just entropy. Entropy is just the law of the universe. And Elric has a tendency to like make deals with gods, and some of them are more lawful, and some of them are more chaotic.
What book is this? I don't think, did you get the
So this is across a whole bunch of different books. Elric,
okay. It's just his general writing style?
Michael Moorcock, it's very difficult to say because like there isn't a whole lot of continuity between all these. I think like the Ruby Throne, Stormbringer, this is like all of like Elric's his like origin story and everything. Then
So who is Elric for our listeners who may not know?
So Elric,
I mean, I know. I just want to see if for our listeners who don't know.
Elric is he's the Prince of Melniboné. He's an albino. And
just dive right into the deep end here.
Yeah. Well, he's a very obscure character, but you'd be surprised actually at how many things like The Witcher, Geralt of Rivia or whatever, is highly influenced. Geralt's almost a complete ripoff off of Elric of Melniboné. Yeah, there's so many things that Elric has influenced. He's been in a whole bunch of different songs. If you ever like listen to like doom metal and stuff, like Blue Oyster Cult or The Sword or whatever, they have songs that reference the Black Blade, Barael's blade and stuff, and that is Elric's sword, Stormbringer. It's this demon possessed black sword that he's made a deal with his god. I don't think I can remember what his name is. It's like Alriok or something, and that's like his like patron god, but Alriok is this like demon of darkness and stuff, and he literally feeds people to him and stuff. But this is why Elric is so cool, because Elric is just this weird anti-hero, and I just love Michael Moorcock so much. And he's making deals. He'll double cross elementals and gods of law and chaos and everything, and the gods of law and chaos are constantly talking about like that it's the fate of this world to fall into entropy and everything, and he's like, Elric is always out for himself or whatever, and he's like, I don't care, ocean elemental, part the sea for me, like shit like that. It's crazy how his stories are just they're amazing, they're mind-boggling, but it's had an enormously profound impact on Dungeons and Dragons. I really think that that's why law and chaos are also on the alignment tree, and or the block or
cube.
They're given equal footing along with good and evil. And I think even Gary Gygax made like the ultimate evil in Dungeons and Dragons was entropy, I think. Like the overarching villain beyond all dragons and all liches and anybody that you can think of. Gary Gygax made this like eldritch god of entropy the ultimate power in the cosmos and everything. And it was sort of the fate of the universe to sort of fall into Tharizdun's or Tharizdun's clutches and everything. And I think there are warlock classes that are based on him too. So
I think I do actually remember hearing about that patron.
Mm-hmm. So it's very I think it's in Ghosts of Saltmarsh, which is why it's sort of come up recently or whatever. There's some kind of reference to it.
So oddly enough, there's a guy named I think I was pronouncing his last name wrong. James Hake, who I had the pleasure of actually meeting and playing a game with at Gen Con. He is he's a writer who he helped write the Tal'Dorei Guide with Matt Mercer. He worked on.
Did you give him any pointers?
I didn't even know who he was until we were done playing.
I would have grabbed him by the lapel. And
well, funny story. Little side tangent.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Gen Con and I met up with a couple of my other friends, and we're playing. We go to the onto the field at the Indianapolis Stadium, which was fucking wild.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're on the field playing games, and my friend Matt brings this guy over. He's like, "Yeah, this is James. He's gonna play with us." Cool. So we play this game. We're having fun. He gets up. He's like, "All right, guys, great playing with you. I'll see you guys later." He leaves. And my friend Matt's like, "Why didn't you talk to him?" I'm like, I didn't talk to him. What do you mean? He goes, "No, you didn't ask me questions about writing." I'm like, "Well, who was that?" He's like, That's James Hake. He's the one who helped Matt Mercer write the Tal'Dorei Guide and Waterdeep." I'm like, "Matt, why didn't you lead with that?" I was like, "What the fuck, dude?" He's like, oh yeah.
Yeah, that's probably gonna be like the only like people talk about that, like having like the elevator pitch, moment.
Yeah.
Like if you were if you were like in an elevator with Steven Spielberg, like what you would say.
At the same time,
you missed your opportunity.
I mean, at the same time, I'm kind of glad I didn't know because I'd rather just like I feel like he probably has shit like that happen to him all the time. Like he works for D&D Beyond now, and he does like all the content writing there. And like I'm kind of glad because I feel like if I was just like, tell me how to write money, and
you never know, man.
I know. But anyway, so where was I going with this? Yeah, so he. Sorry, my brain is so weird. He wrote this whole big Twitter thread where he was saying, he's like, I think this dude is like all these D&D storylines are building up to facing down this patron god of entropy. Like he is
I think bad. Some people have said that like that was one of the things that Gary Gygax wanted to do, I think. And like there's a reason why he sort of left it off was because Tharizdun is supposed to be like he's not supposed to be explicit. It's like a true eldritch.
I was saying same thing with like
creature.
Any Cthulhu like thing that like
right.
You can't
as soon as you give
it,
as soon as you give it a face, and like that's
everybody. If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Right, like the octopus head of Cthulhu and everything is not really. It's not really his true form. Like that's just like a facet of a mere inkling or whatever. Or, Cthulhu isn't even their most powerful eldritch god that's in the Lovecraftian mythos. Like he's just a priest. He's a prophet. He's like one of the lesser ones, but he's here and he'll herald the return and everything. Tharizdun is supposed to be, always in the background. Like he's just this deep villain on the horizon and everything. And that's what gives him this like existential dread and terror. Like if you speak about Tharizdun too much and if you give him too much of a face, you diminish him because you're starting to color inside of the lines of what Tharizdun is and you paint a full picture of him. The more vague he is, the more of just a blatant fear.
Like
that
the more tangible he is, the more you can understand it, and the less power he would have.
Right. Yeah. The more that you can understand something, the less scary it is. Like if it were just it's why like Alien is so amazing. Have you ever seen Alien, the horror movie?
Yeah.
And everything. All right. So most of the time the xenomorph spends its time just in the shadows or behind the camera or whatever, and there's a lot of debate over like how much of the monster you should really show, but it's this more existential threat to everybody the less that you see of it, and you only get like these short cursory glances.
Well, that's like I remember I was watching something a while ago. Someone saying that it's so hard to make a good Alien video game because you can't have like a first-person shooter where you go out and you chase it down. They said the reason why Alien Isolation was so good is because it literally gives you that tension, that fear of like, fuck, like if this thing finds me, I'm dead.
Yeah, and it was a long line of survival horror games that were like that. They were very ubiquitous there for a time period. And there was like one company, it was like Amnesia, Dark Descent, and what's his name, Simona or whatever.
Well, also, did you see that they came up with an Alien tabletop game? Like
That's weird.
But here's the thing: I haven't looked into it that much.
I can't imagine being like pissing my pants, terrified of a board game.
So here's the thing: it's a tabletop role playing game, and the idea is there's two modes. One of them is called like the cinematic mode, and supposedly it's supposed to really ramp up that thing of like fear, I guess, really. And like I think it can totally be done in the context of a tabletop role playing game. It's just, excuse me. I think that like the players obviously have to buy into it, and it's hard. I think because it's the same thing. Like once you show something, people are like, "Oh, it's that thing. I know this thing is weak to fire." I guess
so. Like I mean, like
I'd definitely be interested to check it out and see what it's like.
Oh yeah, I mean, I know that like there are people that are probably more familiar with this than I am anyway. But like horror literature, if you get in the right night or whatever, like a dark and stormy night or whatever, and you read like Dracula or whatever. Especially because Dracula is like an epistolary novel. It really does, after a while, it starts to like seep in and like creep out of the page kind of thing the more that you read Dracula. Yeah. So I definitely think that there's some credence to the idea of there being like a horror tabletop board game that, really makes you kind of scared. Yeah. But I don't know. I've never
I agree. I think it's something I definitely
like that's one of the things that I miss about Strahd is that like Curse of Strahd is about vampires and everything, but it's not really scared.
Well, that's as we keep going on our tangent away from alignment.
Yeah, no, it was into alignment, but then it's fine. You know, it is sort of build up for what truly is.
I do want to bring this up because I do find it very interesting. Curse of Strahd to me is so funny. I guess really any D&D module, because you can play them in such different ways. Like, there's people who play Strahd and Ravenloft like a true horror.
Mm-hmm.
And like when you went back to college and Chris, Katie, and I and all of them played Curse of Strahd.
I came back for one night and I was having a grand old time.
It was like Monty Python's Curse of Strahd. Not that that's bad. It was fucking hilarious.
It's because so the first time I played Ravenloft. It was like gothic horror, Dracula's castle off in the distance.
Yeah,
very dark. And when I came back from college that time, you guys were playing Curse of Strahd. It drummed up a lot of things. You made the edgelordiest edgelord.
No,
it's not that. Okay, it's just
listen, folks. No, he made a vampire named Bled Zebeth.
You gotta let me say it. All right, yeah, his name was Bled Zebeth. Bled Zebeth. Okay, because I took
played a vampire who just regained hit points whenever he felt like it.
You can play a vampire too. It's total. It's in the mechanics.
Total
you want to play a vampire?
Total min-maxer over here. Power gamer.
I know I got a bad reputation.
Vampire. I sparkle in the sunlight and I gain it 50 hit points every turn as a free action.
20 hit points every turn.
Oh my
Thank
God.
you.
Do you see this shit, guys?
That's what vampire. That's the rules for vampire.
Okay. Did you clear up the DM first if you could play, or did you just show up with it?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did.
Well, Chris is an idiot for letting you play that.
Probably, but I still got to play a vampire. Totally legitimate in the rules. He was a regular paladin. That was it. I was just a vampire. It wasn't that broken.
Bled Zebeth.
I know. So when I came back, I wanted to have fun with it because my whole life I've played Castlevania.
Yeah. And
Castlevania is all Simon Belmont and Alucard, and I just took those two characters and I meshed them together and I made, a chain whip whirling vampire blackguard and everything. And it was great. That was so much fun, and I only got to play it for like a night. Bled Zebeth will come back.
And you argued a lot with Jackie about what chaotic evil really was.
So yeah,
which is a good segue back into our alignment.
Because she was playing. What was she playing? She
played an orc.
Yeah, and I was looking at her character. Cleric. It was it chaotic evil or was it?
She played a chaotic evil orc cleric.
Yeah, and I was only there for one night, and I was looking at her. I was like, "That's not chaotic evil." I forget what it was she was doing. She was talking about her backstory or the story of her campaign. I was like, you did that? That's not chaotic.
She was a cleric that refused to heal anyone. And she wanted to burn down every town we went to, wanted to murder everybody. And it was just like, I don't really know about all that.
Oh, no. You know what? Now that you say it, that is actually sounding a little more chaotic than...
Yeah,
I forget what it was that she was telling me.
I
was looking at her like
I wasn't there that night, so I
know.
Yeah.
And Jackie she's been playing, I think, for as long as I have, at least. And I was looking at her, I was like, you should know what chaotic evil is. And I think that a lot of people, it's a very difficult alignment to capture. And I think that's why chaotic evil in particular has gotten kind of the reputation that you really can't play it in a group of people and everything and still be chaotic evil because the rest of the party will mostly end up killing the fucking chaotic evil character.
I honestly feel like, in my personal opinion, and I'm always open to be proven wrong, the only character in any literature I've seen that truly pulls off chaotic evil is just the Joker. To me, at least.
Yeah.
Because I think chaotic evil to me is something that everyone has rules. They have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
And that in and of itself to me is not chaotic. But
well, keep in mind though, people that are chaotic evil, they don't have to be the paragon of that alignment.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yes, the Joker is probably the saint of chaotic evil. But that doesn't mean necessarily that everybody has to define themselves by one of my favorite alignments is true neutral. A lot of my characters I like to play as true neutral because it kind of means
have no reaction.
Tell my wife hello. It is an interesting alignment because there's a lot of different ways that you can kind of interpret it, and it can be like a druid or anything that is totally bound by the laws of nature and is totally unsympathetic by things and just sees everything in terms of a balance. And then there are the people that are true neutral that are sort of like, go with the wind, whichever way the wind's blowing, and I'm kind of only out for myself, and you're not very greedy, but you're not very giving either. You're mostly just out to survive. I think a lot of like NPCs are mostly kind of true neutral. They're sort of just like.
Yeah,
like,
sort of.
Yeah, like they'll kind of get swept up.
Well, I feel like a lot of NPCs that like end up with like they're waiting with the exclamation point over their head. Like they're pretty much
mostly true.
They're
neutral.
the true neutral ones. Yeah,
probably. Yeah. That's not to say that like I guess most NPCs in towns and stuff or whatever are just trying to live their lives like the most of us. A lot of us think that we're all good people. I would assume. I hope most people
so.
think of themselves as good people. Alignment isn't really a super demanding thing. You can play it as like holding up good or evil as an ideal, and you can also be the kind of person that is sort of like, lukewarm, leaning into.
Yeah, because I always worry that everyone boils down these alignments to one specific thing. Like for instance, true neutral, people boil down to like I have no reaction at all. And it's like, it's more than just that. And like chaotic evil is like, I want to murder everyone. And then even lawful good is like, I will never break a law ever in my life.
Well, I think we were talking about if you're like a paladin or something and you're lawful good and you are honor bound by your code to remain lawful good, and you're in a town that's, under the rule of, under the rule of some terrible dictator like Stalin or something.
Yeah.
And you're fighting against him, you're breaking the law or whatever. And I think it's true that a lawful good paladin would try and act within the bounds of law to help as many people as he can and sort of like work with that society that he's in. But ultimately, he would choose his code. Like, he wouldn't compromise his code.
Yeah, and because I brought that up earlier, and the idea I had was that the whole idea of lawful is that you're following the laws. But the thing is, if you disagree with the laws that are set in place, but you have your own personal laws, can you technically still be lawful?
That's the lawful good part of it, is that there are certain things that override it. If you were a truly lawful, lawful neutral paladin, then you would totally, as a paladin of some true neutral alignment, you would totally work within the bounds of that law and just be like, we're supposed to follow the rules of this dictator because we are under his lands and his jurisdiction, and you'd have a very complicated legal and lawful philosophy around
like even going back to Curse of Strahd. Like the second that lawful good paladin walks into Barovia, you're not following Strahd's laws. Are you still lawful? Yeah, because you're following the laws you have. And that's kind of always the thing that's always the kind of stuff I've always thought about, at least. And going off your topic of your favorite alignment, we talked about this before we started the podcast. I have never played a character with this alignment yet, but lawful evil is one of my favorite alignments. Yeah. I love it so much. Like I'd like to say chaotic good, chaotic neutral, but I feel like that's like everyone does those too. And before I get to the reason why lawful is my favorite, Tyler and I were talking about this, that I made the point before we started recording of it feels like everyone always wants to play a chaotic good, chaotic neutral. No one ever goes lawful. And Tyler had a good point.
It's like everybody follows the law here. Why would I want? And the thing that I use for escapism, why would I want to follow the law? Everything here is traffic and lines. And I play Dungeons and Dragons to just like throw a Molotov cocktail into the line and like that kind of stuff. Like just kick things up.
Yeah.
Turn over tables.
And I've always fallen in that thing too. Where my guys are always either chaotic good, chaotic neutral, but like. Lawful evil. I want to play a lawful evil character so bad.
We should do. What we should do? Because like most parties are, like neutral, mostly good people, or whatever. And if there's a paladin in the group, they're mostly the front man that kind of everybody sort of rallies behind anyway, as like good. And there's always like that one evil character in the group or whatever. We should do the reverse. We should do the nega opposite of that, where it's mostly
there's a secret good character.
There's a secret good guy, in the group, and like everybody else is evil.
It's like this guy broke the law. We should totally try to reform him. It's like what?
like a group that's just like Mind Flayer, Beholder, and Dave. Like
Dave the Halfling.
Yeah, we should totally kick him in the shins, guys. Rough him up.
We should make him write a 5-paragraph essay about what he did wrong. Yes, Dave. Write the essay. I just love the idea. I love the idea of that character.
Make him write it in
I
blood.
guess my favorite character trope in most media is like the rogue with the heart of gold. And again, that also comes from the thing of like they come from these criminal organizations, and it's funny to me that like even in Star Wars, like Jabba the Hutt, a truly evil character, crime lord, he has rules that like you follow my rules, we're good. And I love that idea where it's like, yeah, we may be evil, we may commit crimes, we may have people murdered, but like, listen, we have a very specific set of rules. Like even the movie The Godfather,
he's like governor of Tatooine. Jabba,
sort of, yeah,
right, yeah.
Or think of it this way: like in the movie The Godfather, when they're talking about bringing drugs into New York City, they make the line of like, "Listen, you want to bring drugs in? Don't sell it anywhere near schools." And you're thinking to yourself like, these are mobsters, they're evil, they're bad guys, but like no, do not fuck with kids.
Because I think the idea was that like with the mafia, they were kind of the law in Italy.
They were, and like that. I'm not like a fan of mafias, but like I love that viewpoint where it's like, yeah, like we're bad, but like we have a specific set of rules that we will not break.
That's the mental justification, is that like, you know, this town is controlled by the family, you know, and you never speak out against the family. Like that's the mafia code.
I love that, and like you brought the example.
That would be a fun paladin, actually. That you know, it's just like
Oath of the Family.
Oath of the Family.
Coming soon from Wandering Pilgrims Games.
Does that crack my knuckles? You know, Oath of the Family, obviously. I got my smite right here.
It'd be a real shame if someone hit you with a divine smite.
Upside the head.
Yeah, you know? It's a nice cut you have there. It'd be a real shame if someone broke it. Yeah, but actually, I'm going to write that down. I'm going to work on a fucking paladin class, Oath of the Family.
Oath of the Family.
Oath of the Family. A mafia-inspired paladin. That sounds fucking awesome. All right.
Oh man, I liked back in 3.5 when you could get you had knight and you could get a squire, like NPC or whatever with you. That would be so great if you had like, you know, hey Vinny, go down to the Quarter Mart there and get me a mutton joint.
Actually, funny story you mentioned that.
Get me some meat.
At the time of recording this is currently June 20th. July is when Colville's Strongholds and Followers Kickstarters comes out.
Oh, how convenient. Plug for...
Yet another plug for Matt Colville, my fucking idol. So when that
Matt Colville, call us.
Call us, please. When that comes out, there's rules in there for followers and retinues. And like, I would love to make a character that has a fucking retinue. That sounds fucking awesome.
A retinue?
Yeah, like your followers.
I know what that means, but... It just means your followers?
Yeah, your retinue, like the people with you. You fucking know what a retinue is. You talk about fucking medieval shit all the time.
You know,
Ye old castle man! Fucking idiot.
I'm sorry, man. I don't have, like, the entire vocabulary in my head.
Right. Retinue. Yeah, a retinue. Right? Am I using this fucking word right? Let me Google this. Retinue.
I was thinking, like, reputation?
Yeah, group of advisors, assistants, or others accompanying an important person.
I'm sorry I had to make you...
Synonyms: entourage, escort, company, court.
Oh, your entourage.
Oh, entourage. You get entourage, not retinue, you fucking idiot. We're friends.
We use the word entourage more in
for a shitty HBO show.
Well,
God,
all right.
I fucking hated that show.
Lay off of that shit, all right?
I hated Entourage. Because my fucking bougie-ass brother is like, yo, bro. Like, that could be us, bro.
You gotta watch Entourage.
You gotta watch Entourage, bro. I'm from New Jersey. We're both from New Jersey, if you guys couldn't tell.
You know
this
what
is
else?
why we have the Jersey accent down. So
you know what else is...
We're not talking about Entourage. We're moving on.
No. I was actually going to talk about Cosmopolitans, the drink, Cosmopolitan, and the HBO show Sex and the City. Because Cosmopolitans, historically speaking, were still kind of a man's drink. And the whole point of that show, I think that show totally hijacked Cosmopolitans as sort of like not just for women, but like for like, you know, Sex in the City, Cosmos.
I'm Samantha. I have sex with everyone.
I know, that show was...
Hey, you ever saw that clip from Freaking Sam Marshall? I'll show you later. It's Jason Segel getting drunk at a hotel, and he has a Cosmopolitan in his hand. He's like, I'm Samantha.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. Exactly. And Cosmos are not Cosmopolitan or whatever.
Cosmos.
Not Cosmos, Cosmopolitan or whatever. Before it was hijacked by Sex and the City, was...
Hijacked.
You know... It
they
was.
took their Cosmopolitans.
No, listen. Anybody can enjoy whatever drink they want or whatever. Okay, I'm just saying that, like, you know, it went from being a fairly normal drink to, you know, it just belongs to Sex and the City and, like, you know, ladies' night. Oh my god, and so, you know, now it's like, would you ever order yourself a Cosmopolitan?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Good. It's not weird.
It's not.
Of course not. Exactly. That's
you asked the wrong person, because I don't give a fuck what anyone thinks about me at all. I'm also 6'5", so if anyone tries to fucking say shit...
Well, especially a person...
You got a problem with my Cosmo, bro?
A person like me, where, you know, I enjoy cocktails and everything, but you get that. You get that kind of thing, where it's just like, that's a lady's drink. And you're like, actually, no, it's just a drink, and they're not bad. You should try one.
Again, bringing up Jason Segel in How I Met Your Mother... His character Marshall loves.
Oh, that's what. Yeah,
he loves girly fruity drinks, and like he goes to a bar and he wants one so bad.
He's like, I can't.
I should be allowed to drink these drinks.
That's okay. Yes. All right. I'm sorry that this actual discussion has been had in Forgetting Sarah Marshall. I do love that movie. I know.
I forget where we were going with any of this.
That was totally a tangent.
Alignment.
We should get back to
alignment. We should get back to alignment.
There's so many.
Let's realign ourselves.
Ooh. I know. There's so many things in alignment anyway. It's not, you know, I expect that we would go off on a lot of tangents, because when you're talking about alignment, you're really talking about
and by the way, listeners, this
itself.
is an episode. This is a topic that we'll probably come back to in other episodes, talk about it a little bit more, because there really is... We could spend this entire episode talking about just the lawful side of it, like, or even just the good, like just one specific alignment. Like, it's a pretty deep reserve of topics.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot that's left on the field, and I'm sure that, you know,
sports jokes.
People, there's a lot of people that would probably have a lot more to say about it, and I know everybody has their own personal morality system that informs the way that they play D&D, or the way that they see good and evil. I see a lot of people actually that don't really have a full definition of like what evil is or what good is. People don't really fully understand that. I have my own ideas, but if you want to...
It is interesting you say that, because like it reminds me of back when I was really into, like, I still am in Star Wars. But like I remember reading up about light side and dark side, and something that was interesting to me was there was a part written where it says when a wolf devours a baby rabbit, is that the dark side? No, it's not. That's the way the world works. But if you gave the bunny force powers to kill the wolf to save himself, you're saving the bunny, but you're going against the order of the way nature is.
I don't know. See, because I always had this sort of like, you know, I feel like there's like this binary duality to Star Wars, that like, you know, it's a very yin and yang idea of like, you know, a wolf eating a bunny is a negative thing, therefore technically a dark side thing. Am I wrong?
See, I don't agree with that though, because that's
I know I don't agree with it nature. It is a part of nature, but it is still it's still a tragedy, I guess. You know, that the universe has sort of oriented itself to be this sort of, you know, ever ebbing and flowing tide of light and darkness. And I think Yoda even says, or I'm sure in the expanded universe there's like expanded ideas over what the Force is, but he says that the Force is created by life, and so a wolf eating a bunny would literally be an extinguishing of life, therefore dark side.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
I know. Listen, there's some huge Star Wars philosophy that you could go on. That's why I like Knights of the Republic 2. God, Knights of the Republic 2. You played Knights of the Republic 2?
Fuck yeah, I played Knights of the Republic 2.
Alright, good, yeah. Kreia. Anybody ask me, like, favorite female character in video game? Kreia. Kreia is, like, in my pantheon of, like fucking perfect characters ever. Perfect villains.
Are any of your Zardarian gods based off of Kreia? Because I feel like there was some themes that kind of ran parallel between Kreia and some of the gods that you're
I think I've honestly let Kreia inform Reliot, because I was talking the other day to somebody on Twitter actually that Reliot is Gandalf and like Doctor Doom and
I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah. He's this like deep, far traveler. He's a nomad and a pilgrim, just in search of
wandering pilgrim.
He is a wandering pilgrim, just in search of truth, and so he goes on these like long spanning cosmic journeys, and that's kind of Krea's own journey as well. That she's sort of like gone to the absolute depths, exploring. She was a Jedi Master at one point, and then went to the deepest of Sith Lords and everything. So she's experienced the entire spectrum of the Force, and Krea, I think, eventually has a whole rejection of what the Force is, and thinks that this entire drama, the battle between the light side and the dark side is. Like, it's so exhausting and it's tiresome. And I think that she just wanted to bring an end to the entire story of the fight between the light and the dark. And you kind of see her, she is vindicated in a way. She is right because, you go into, the Star Wars movies about Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, and like, it's like nothing has changed.
Yeah.
Really. And I think that that's kind of the point, that like, it is sort of a constant, ever-going battle between light and dark, and all it does is leave people outcasted and killed and hurt and dispossessed throughout the wake of it, and so like to bring about an end to suffering is to sort of end everything in the galaxy, and so that's kind of an extreme.
Which I think that also probably informs your choice of why true neutral means so much to you, because that does seem like a bit of a true neutral thing. Like instead of just like I have no reaction, it's like no, like good and evil are both fucked up.
Right. The whole drama, the fight between good and evil is sort of. You have your own ideas about that in its own way. The same way that you look at law and chaos and in D&D, and like neither is good or evil. It's just a spectrum. The entire world is on the spectrum, transitioning from law into chaos. That is what the passage of time means. And so to be true neutral, doesn't necessarily mean that you see that, but paragons of the true neutral alignment do, and are interested in the way that law and chaos, good and evil, interact with one another and intersect one another. Yeah. And you're sort of like, you're not looking at this world in this binary dualist nature where things are fighting against one another. You sort of see how they are all related to one another. It's kind of like an Iroh type thing, like an Uncle Iroh kind of thing.
Yeah.
But Iroh is more good, but like he sort of sees that there's a harmony, and him being evil at one point in his life, arguably, and transitioning into somebody who is now seen the light, the only way that he could get his full knowledge about the nature of good and evil and the balance and the harmony of the way that the four nations live in is from seeing everything and from being evil and chaotic at one point.
Not to mention helping a character go through the greatest redemption arc in any show of any age ever.
Yeah, I guess Zuko and is up there in the pantheon of greatest characters.
Yeah, I don't care who's listening right now. If a Hollywood director...
If you don't like Last Airbender, you're wrong.
Well, yeah, if you don't like the cartoon series Last Airbender, you're wrong. But if you even try to at me on Twitter and tell me that there is a character whose redemption arc is better than Zuko, I will block you immediately and not even look at your response because you were wrong.
That statement would give me a little bit more pause. But
who has seriously though
a better redemption arc
than Zuko?
I don't know. I'm just saying that I would have to think long and hard about that before
I'm making a blanket statement.
It's got to be Zuko.
I think it has to be.
I'm sure there's a character that neither of us has read.
I will make that concession. There's
because I know someone's going to say
the characters I have
Dragonlance.
Bring back Dragonlance.
Who knows, man?
Do you ever hear this story?
What?
So Critical Role stuff. They have this other show called Between the Sheets, where they the one guy Brian Foster, who's fucking hilarious. He interviews like all the cast members, but he interviews a lot of other people. He had Chris Perkins on. Mm-hmm. And Chris Perkins told this story about the first time he became the editor of the Dragon Plus, the magazine. Mm. He was the editor of the Dungeons and Dragons magazine. He said that one of the first letters he ever got that kind of kept him grounded was an email that just said, "Bring back Dragonlance, you fuck." He's like,
that was the subject.
That was the actual email. That was it, just that. So he's
Bring back Dragonlance, you fuck.
So he said, "Always kept me grounded."
Oh man,
yeah. But okay, so I will make the concession that there may be a character out there, but as of right now, I guess Zuko is my number one.
Absolutely. It's funny how Zuko is sort of the more interesting character, even though Aang is...
They all are.
I mean, there's a problem with a lot of protagonists being sort of the blandest or least interesting thing about their world. Aang isn't the only one, by far.
I'm also going to put that down for another podcast topic because one thing I've realized in my time trying to improve my writing skills is...
The good villain?
Yeah. Having a not good as in like they're a good person, like a good, like well-made. Like a well-made villain can really make or break your world, your story, whatever. Like,
how to...
Yeah. And I think we can probably delve into that.
I can talk about that kind of nowish. I mean...
we can hint at it with the actual alignment things.
With the alignment. Because, like...
But I think, like, in terms of, like, actually making one and tips, we could say that for now.
Because I think that a lot of people like to say that, your villain is a character too, right?
Yeah.
And so your villain should still sort of be, a fully well-developed person. And so, you don't necessarily want that, to always be the mustache twirling, evil for evil's sake kind of villain. And I do agree with that to a point.
I mean, sometimes you want to have the evil for evil's sake guy.
Your villain, ideally, at least in as far as movies and storytelling is concerned, Black Panther. I could go back to Black Panther. I think. Listen, I know a lot of people are talking about Thanos right now, but Killmonger as a villain, especially because Killmonger is
easy, Siri.
Killmonger is right in a way in Black Panther that obviously he's totally misguided. He wants to radicalize, all of his war dogs around the world or whatever of Wakanda. But T'Challa,
T'Chaka, right? His father?
I'm King T'Challa, son of King T'Chaka. Yes.
I was.
Okay. I'm sorry. I don't know why I get the two of them mixed up.
Oh, no, because I said T'Chunka.
This is T'Chunka.
He's a chunka. No, T'Chaka.
No.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I don't know why I couldn't think of that.
T'Chunka is just a really fat panther.
T'Challa's whole thing is, keeping Wakanda's borders safe. And Killmonger wants Wakanda to become sort of a power in the world or whatever. He wants to do it the wrong way. But he is right. Leaving the rest of the world behind in order to preserve the secrecy of Wakanda has ultimately been a bad thing. And so his, end of second act moment of clarity is that all of the past kings of Wakanda are wrong. Killmonger is actually right. And he kind of honors Killmonger in a way. And that's the mark of a truly good villain. Because Killmonger is a true foil to what T'Challa was before Killmonger entered into his life. Killmonger has fundamentally changed T'Challa's view about the world.
Yeah. And
he takes a bit of Killmonger and his, what Killmonger should have been with him into the world as he stands on the stage of the United Nations. And that's an awesome, awesome thing. As much as people love Thanos, Thanos doesn't really have that. He's still sympathetic in a way, but he's mainly just a psychopath, kind of.
Yeah.
And so,
I think also you and I have the misfortune of viewing him through the lens of his comic book counterpart, where he literally was a mad titan who just wanted to fall in love with death.
He wanted to punch eternity in the face.
He wanted to literally court death, the embodiment.
Right. Yes.
So
which is not a totally sympathetic thing. It is
so you
cool.
and I think we have misfortune of knowing that this is what he's really doing. He's not really sympathetic. He's just but at least with Killmonger, it's like shit.
That makes you think.
It does.
It really, really makes you think.
Because he's right. Look at the movie, African American populations outside of Africa have been treated like shit. And he's like, you have the power to stop this whenever you want, and you haven't. Mm-hmm. So it's
it's a good way to introduce Wakanda too, as the rest of the cinematic universe. Yeah. But that's a whole other.
Because people are like, where have they been this whole time? It's like they've been hiding.
Now, on the other hand, inversely, all right, as much as I love the good villain, the very well developed character of a villain, I love Dracula. Okay, I'm a huge Dracula, Castlevania, and I love. I mean, Castlevania has its own interpretation of Dracula. But if you just take a purist reading of Bram Stoker's Dracula is totally, he's left unmotivated, and it's meant to sort of keep him as this existential threat, like we were talking about Tharizdun or whatever.
Yeah.
But Dracula is evil for evil's sake. He literally has a mustache, so he can be a mustache twirling villain. All right, and I don't think that there isn't a place for that. I know that it's maybe used a little bit too much sometimes or whatever, especially in D&D. Sometimes there are villains, like a Sararak or anything, where his main motivation is just like, I'm a lich and I'm badass. And,
I'm
but
dead. Everyone should be dead.
I do like that Dracula, like, I'm just going to be evil because, I am like this incarnate, son of Satan type.
Well, yeah, but also
Prince of Darkness.
When I say good villain, I mean like well written, not so much just like they're actually.
But well written has a lot of meanings. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no,
like,
and I don't want you to think that like I'm thinking villains will only have to be like who have a valid point. Like there's plenty of villains that don't have a point that are still like. Going back to the Joker again. Yeah. Joker has no fucking plan besides burn everything to the ground.
Yeah, I think that's why... Well, I mean, Joker did it one time, and I think that Joker has sort of become this, like, elemental sort of villain to Batman or whatever. He wasn't always that way. The Joker has become this, like, nega opposite to Batman over this time. There are a lot of villains that are... Well, yeah, I guess this entire Rogues Gallery kind of reflects upon Batman in one way or another.
Wasn't there a theory that all of his villains are like part of it, like
part of his personality?
Yeah, different part of his personality, part of his psyche.
Because I was thinking also that like one of the recent by like 5 or 10 years or something has been Owlman, and Owlman is supposed to be kind of like the nega opposite of Batman. All right, so every villain really, is sort of like
that. The Crime Family. What are they called? The Inverse Justice League. They're from Earth 2.
The Legion of Doom.
No, not Legion of Doom.
That's what it is. Yeah, that's the
inverse. Owlman's from Crime Syndicate. That's what I'm thinking of.
Oh yeah.
Owlman's from the Crime Syndicate.
So yeah, that's the Owlman is from the Crime Syndicate, where the Justice League becomes evil.
They're like the mafia.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. And Superman is sort of
what a great storyline that was. Forever Evil.
I've read. Have I read Forever Evil?
It's
pretty
really,
sure I have.
Yeah, it's for those out there. I will tell you, I'm a Marvel fanboy. Forever Evil. Forever Evil.
Forever evil. I wanna be forever evil.
Yeah, but seriously, Forever Evil is one of that was some great harmonies. That is my favorite storyline. It is incredible. It's so good.
I agree. The Justice Lords, I think it was. That was from the Justice League animated show, which is highly underrated, I think.
No, I think they're still the crime family.
But they didn't call it the Crime Syndicate. Oh yeah, no, because the Crime Syndicate is actually the villains. Like the villains become the good guys and everything. Thinking, right?
No,
I got this totally wrong.
I'm sorry, guys. We're going on a tangent, but we're going to figure this out real quick. So there was the Crime Syndicate, which was Owlman, Superwoman, Ultraman.
What am I thinking of?
Are you thinking of like how Lex Luthor and the Joker were the good guys on Earth 2?
Well, I think the Joker gets killed. I think.
Yes, the Joker gets killed, and Earth 2... No. Damn it, fuck! God damn it!
I'm sorry.
I'm getting the comic book storyline, and I'm getting the
because I have
Justice
read
League
this.
series mixed up. In the Justice League series... Shut up! I need to talk this out. Listeners, I'm sorry. I need to get this out.
It is kind of a problem with DC because DC is just like, what? We're 5 issues in. Better hit the reset button, and like they just reimagine their shit or whatever. And like all of their comics are
so here's the thing. So,
some new storyline.
Here we go. Okay, in the Justice League movie, the animated movie, Joker dies, and the good quote Lex Luthor comes to our Earth to recruit our Justice League to fight the Crime Syndicate. In the comic series, they're brought over for a different reason, but the nega Lex Luthor for Earth 2 is their Shazam, but he says Shazam backwards to become...
Mazaz!
Yeah, Mazash! Like, but then, like, he's also even more evil, so Alexander Luthor from Earth 2... is trying to kill everyone, but then our bad Lex Luthor is like, I can kill you. So like, it gets crazy. So he's like, no one can make me say the thing again. So like, he won't say Shazam again to revert. But then like our evil Lex Luthor is like, I have your voice, and he says it, and this guy transforms back again and dies. It's nuts. It's fucking nuts.
Do you think comic book writers do you think they know how ludicrous their plot lines are?
I hope so, because it's something I aspire to have.
No, because I imagine them like having like zero self-consciousness and just like
yeah, and then Lex Luthor becomes Black Adam, and it's
it's awesome or whatever. Like, they don't actually say it out loud to themselves. And, like, as soon as they say it, they would just be like, wait, this is fucking stupid.
I aspire to write a storyline so convoluted that two dudes on a podcast struggle to unravel it. Like, no, wait. Okay, no, here.
If I make my stories complicated enough, people won't know if they're bad.
It's true. And speaking of bad, going back to evil and alignment, bring it back.
I'm sorry. We're trying to come back.
No, I feel like I should make this warning every episode. Like, we have a topic, and I think we go off topic so fucking frequently because, like,
okay.
oh, it must be this thing. Must be that thing.
It's okay. It's not that bad.
You ever do that though? When
it's what happens when you get two guys with ADHD in the same room together.
True.
Okay.
Who share all the same hobbies.
Yeah.
But, like, you ever do that thing where, like, you get something like, how the fuck did I get to this point? And you backtrack through your thought process. It's actually fucking crazy. You're like, okay, I did this. I was like, how the fuck did I get from talking about chaotic evil to fucking Kevin Bacon's left shoe?
We could make the whole, like, with Twine, conspiracy flowchart of our conversation with alignment there in the center and just all of our, DC tangents and everything.
Yeah.
I think because we were talking about villains.
Yes.
Right, and this is another topic that we could probably leave on the field because there's a whole
sports reference.
There's a whole world out there. There's a whole world out there of good and bad villains. I think I remember actually where I was going to go with villains. In writing in general, really, not just villains, there really is no bad idea, if you want to call it that. Like, there are no real bad ideas. There's poor executions of ideas, for sure. I think that's why that there are bad villains. But any example you could come up with of a poor villain, it's really more of a poor execution of that villain. The details about that, the idea of that character wasn't mined properly, and so you came up with something that was half-baked more than anything else, and that's why that villain sort of fizzles out and panders. Or good characters, anyway, too. Any storyline, any protagonist.
I do feel like some characters that get made, they're behind the 8 ball already, like, with their concept. Like, I mean, going back to DC again, like, fucking Stiltman.
Stiltman?
Sorry, it's Marvel. Like, his thing is he just has stilts. Like,
that's his superpower, is that he has stilts?
Condiment King.
See, okay, alright, so Condiment King, alright, just as a random example, alright, there's totally nothing wrong with Condiment King. That sounds frickin' great if you execute it properly, like, if there's a couple ways you could do it, too. Like, if you did it, like, straight-faced and, like, totally deadpan, just like, Condiment King is here to save the day with a healthy dose of mustard, and, like, that would just... It's hilarious, all right? And like, if you know what you're about and everything, and you decide to play it that way...
Do your worst, villain. I relish the thought of your fight. It's like, oh, God, I turned myself in. Stop!
I can just imagine, like some guy sitting there at, like, a fast food joint or something, and, like, he becomes, caught in the crossfire between Condiment King and, some... other condiment-themed villain or something that's just like, no, have 2-day-old onions! Ah! Like, and just like, not today, onion biter! And they just have a fight in a freaking restaurant. See, isn't this great? It writes itself, practically.
Onion biter?
I don't know. I pulled it out of the air.
Oh my God.
It's not really...
Stop it.
I'm making it up as I go along. I don't fucking know.
Pass, DC. Pass.
I guarantee you, whatever it is that I come up with will not be as convoluted as whatever it was that you just described.
Coming this fall to DC King. Comics, Condiment King takes on Onion Biter.
I would totally make, like, my
Catch up, villain!
I would totally make a Justice League themed superhero team that was
Condiments?
Condiment King and Stiltman and just all of these, like, Z-list heroes.
Jesus Christ.
Versus another, like, Z-list roster of, like, just the worst villains you can think of. Like, too long at the DMV man! Like, crappy elevator man!
Oh my God.
Or whatever. That reminds me, actually,
It reminds me of how elevators need to be aligned. Speaking of aligned, going back to alignment.
No, actually, I was going to go into my man of industry.
Oh my God, stop your man.
I don't know why. It's going to be a thing.
It's not a thing.
It's going to be a thing for Steel Horizons.
No, it's not. Industry man will not be in Steel Horizons.
All right, just listen to what you're telling me, though. What you're telling me is that
let me explain.
You had a kid,
let me explain. Okay,
if you had a kid,
let me explain Steel Horizons.
He wanted to
let me explain
Steel Horizons.
So for those who don't know,
his character,
Tyler. Okay, so for those who don't know, Steel Horizons is a 5th edition compatible supplement that I am creating.
It's Diesel Punk.
It is a Diesel Punk game. Where Diesel Punk refers to the themes and aesthetic of the time period between World War I and World War II.
Which is the 20s and 30s.
20s and 30s, yes. So
totally an Art Deco time period.
Very Art Deco, very Diesel Punk, very angular, very hard surfaces.
Right. And the perfect place for the man of industry!
Okay, so for some reason... Tyler thinks this is a superhero thing.
No.
It's not.
No, it's not. No.
I'm not having a guy run around saying, I am the man of industry with Tin Can Boy. Okay? His
Tin Can Lad.
Tin Can Lad, his sidekick. It's not happening.
Okay, just hear me out here, okay?
I'm not listening to this.
I'm not making...
listening.
Hang on. Because, first of all, you are setting it in a Diesel Punk universe, all right? Which is the 20s and 30s, all right? That is the dawn of comic books, my friend.
Listen, it's not literally the 20s and 30s, though.
I know it's not.
Aesthetic.
It's that aesthetic, all right? And if I'm drawing from that aesthetic, there were comic books in the 20s.
Oh my God, you're not having industry man.
Just man.
No!
It's man of industry.
I swear to God, Tyler... I will dissolve this business.
Second
I will dissolve this business. I will delete every podcast episode, and I will go into business with myself. Okay?
It's too bad he exists now.
Oh, no, in your weird alternate world that's not Steel Horizons.
I want to tell you more about Man of Industry.
We're not going to. So anyway, alignments. Moving on. Yeah, so I think we spent a lot of time talking about good and evil, but I do like the idea of law versus chaos, which is also because my favorite conflict in the entire alignment chart is actually lawful evil versus chaotic evil, and the blood war in terms of D&D. I love that. I think the blood war. I actually
don't know what the blood war is.
The blood war refers to the ongoing war between the devils of the hells and the demons of the abyss. Yes,
it's weird that they're enemies. I get why that's a thing. Because I know devils are lawful, demons are chaotic.
Well, it makes sense in terms of the game because the idea is devils have the divine agreement with the angels that they themselves can never be brought onto the material plane unless invited, unless summoned. Mm-hmm. With the demons can break their way through. So the idea is with the devils, if they let the demons go unopposed, they will destroy everything on the material plane. So the devils will have no one to...
rule over.
No one to rule over, no one whose souls they can take from them, like no one they can make bargains with.
That is an interesting motivation that the devils have to preserve the world in the interest of ruling over it in some post-apocalypse.
So they have to save the world so that they can then take the souls of the world to make themselves stronger, to protect the world, to then take the souls. And I love that. That's so fucking cool.
It sounds like the plot of a Diablo game.
Kind of does.
Yeah.
I mean, Diablo means devil, so.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, and I love that. And the funny thing to me, too, is the more I look into the lore, Avernus, the new module coming out, is ruled over by Zariel, who's a former angel. And she went down to hell for the sole reason to fight the demons. And she's still down there. She became an archdevil because she went down into hell and was fighting these demons and being around the devils, being around the demons. It corrupted her a little bit. And the angels are like, no, you're bad now. And Asmodeus is like, yo, let me talk at you for a second, all right? You do a really fucking good job. I'm put you in charge of Avernus. I don't know why Asmodeus...
You do a really good job. I'll put you in charge of Avernus.
I don't know why I made Asmodeus a fucking, like, Jersey gangster. He's like, all right, listen, you do a pretty good job fighting demons, you can be in charge of Avernus.
Because the true ultimate evil, obviously...
is the Jersey Mafia.
Is going to be a mobster,
obviously. But, like, that's fucking badass. And the funny thing is, like... I think
Avernus is in Jersey. Obviously.
Yeah, Avernus is in North Jersey.
That's why we got the Jersey Devil.
We do have the Jersey Devil. It's right. New Jersey's basically Avernus. So
already. It
a
already
pretty,
is.
It's a pretty tattered hellscape.
I know. It's just if you're not in Camden or in Newark, it's ticks and mosquitoes. So
yeah. New Jersey is just like, there's like a little bit of southern Jersey where we live, where it's like trees,
pork roll,
but then you go up to North Jersey and it's just like
Taylor ham.
Urban sprawl. It's like, okay, this is terrible.
Yeah, I know. It is kind of funny feeling totally dispossessed by either North and South Jerseyans, which is why some people make the argument for Central Jersey.
Yeah, it's like we live in South Jersey, which basically we're basically from Philly. We can just say we're from Philadelphia.
Yeah, it's
like,
terrible that like we don't even have our own identity. We identify ourselves with the city across the river in Pennsylvania.
So does North Jersey. North Jersey is basically New York.
It's basically, they're just New York wannabes.
Yeah,
it's terrible. It's so terrible.
Philadelphia suburbs, basically.
Just no love for Jersey. I know.
Well, it is a pretty terrible state.
It's not though.
Like, we got great blueberries, all right? We got blueberries and tomatoes.
Jersey tomatoes. And
tomatoes and Jersey corn.
Atlantic City hasn't fallen into the ocean yet. You know? Like, Atlantic City will come back, obviously. If we just put enough casinos in Atlantic City, it'll right itself right as rain.
All right, anyway.
As Hurricane Sandy.
Speaking of writing ourselves on the alignment chart, bringing it back.
We can't. I know, we can't. I think it's because when you're talking about alignment, you're talking about like
so many other...
You're talking about philosophy itself,
philosophical
anyway.
issues, sociology.
I know we're not really talking about philosophy anyway, but...
I always feel bad because I feel like we make these podcasts to help people with different issues, and more like
I think we have.
I hope we have. Like, listeners, I really hope we've helped you like talk about this stuff as opposed to us just like rambling.
I think I covered my main points.
Yeah, so I think we definitely have different things.
The idea. I didn't actually get into. I didn't actually get into like what is good and what is evil.
We spent a lot of time talking about just what.
So okay, so
we spent a lot of time on Law and Order. Let's talk about
I did cover.
Let's talk about good and evil a little bit.
All right, so to recap on Law and Order. All right, law.
Dun, dun.
The easiest way to sort of wrap your mind about what law and chaos is. Sorry, not Law and Order.
Dun dun.
Is is the passage of time. All right, everything is moving from law into chaos. All right, chaos.
I have the law. Sorry, we were making fun of Judge Dredd earlier. Continue. Sorry, that was my fault.
I am the law.
No, Tyler, reel it in.
All right, no more tangents.
That's my fault.
It's okay. I welcome these. Okay. So yeah, chaos is sort of the natural decay. And I think some people take chaos into meaning like, things that really are chaos and unnatural as well. You could say that some ideas of like undeath and things are sort of a chaos, a betrayal of the natural law of things. Okay. So being undead is not necessarily evil. Evil, you really only get into a talk about evil when you're talking about life and its relationship to one another. I think there are very few instances I can think of where good and evil has to do with something that isn't alive. But good, I think, would be seen as sort of the maximizing the joy in what else? I'm trying to think of the opposite of suffering. I don't know why the word escapes me. Bliss.
Well, it's funny you mention that because I think we talked about this on the last episode, and it brings me back to my point about necromancy, where the idea of necromancy, bringing someone back from the dead, everyone's like, no, it's evil, but like the way I thought about it, which
it's not really, it's not fully evil.
If anything, reviving someone is evil, because if that person made it to heaven, and you're like, nah, come on back down to earth again.
Well, there's more than one reason to try and revive somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. Granted. But like, I'm thinking to myself, like, because I told you about this before, I had made a potential encounter for the campaign I was running, where if they went to this windmill up on the hill, it was this old necromancer who had zombie farmhands And the players are like, zombies, kill him! But like...
No,
like,
they're really like robots.
No, he's like, no, like, these people died in town. They have no families left. I'm just using their bodies for labor. Like, why am I going to...
Which still sounds kind of creepy.
It is. It absolutely is. I'm not saying it's not.
It would sit right with me.
But the whole
even
thing,
if I were evil.
But the whole thing is like, am I going to have people do this back-breaking labor? He's like, I'm a poor farmer. I can't pay them.
All I can see is a zombie like literally breaking his back. Like,
it's still working. It's like,
like some like dusty skeleton that's like and like breaks his back.
It's like, oh, Harold, just standing back up again. But I thought it was a cool idea where it's like, yeah, these dudes died. They have no family. Let's put their body to use.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I revive them, that's because I keep coming back to the same thought. But it's like, if I ever in our real life, if I died and I ended up in heaven, fat chance.
What happens if you ended up in the other place?
I'm gonna bring me back. Bring me back.
Help!
Help!
I'll do the back-breaking labor.
Yeah, but you think about that. Like, I imagine like you're in the D&D world and your character's just died, and you're like being greeted by your god. You're like, oh my god, I've led a good life. I've done it. And then like someone's like, excuse me. Like, no. Why?
I know. Yes, total revivification. Yes, I get what you're saying. So that's why I would say that undeath can be seen as chaotic.
Yeah.
So you'd still
chaotic,
probably
absolutely.
You'd still probably be on the wrong side of something that's overly lawful.
And yeah, I definitely agree that it's definitely on the hard chaos side.
Right.
But good and evil.
Good and evil, I think, is the difference between if you are taking actions to minimize suffering, which is good, or taking actions to maximize suffering, which is evil.
Well, the other thing
and
too,
in its most elemental form, I think it really is the difference between if you're trying to minimize or maximize suffering.
Well, the other thing that's true as well is good and evil is so relative, depending on what your personal viewpoints are. We're like, well, let me put it this way: order and chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Chaos is no rules. Order is there's rules. You really can't be like, well, this is pretty chaotic. Are the rules here? Yeah, it's not chaotic. But
yeah, I mean, you can look at a state and just see entropy work itself out. It's very easy to see the way that order and chaos are sort of playing themselves out. It is difficult sometimes because
good and evil is a little bit harder to identify,
right? Because you may be bringing, you may be smiting evil demons, but you are bringing them suffering in a way. So like, what was I thinking of? Aragorn reigning as king. How did Aragorn reign? Did Aragorn just commit mass genocide against Uruk-hai or whatever? Just like maximize the suffering of Uruk-hai? Is that actually good? Like when you look at it from like the other perspective and everything, that kind of seems like that might be a little fucked up. But that's probably what Aragorn had to do. Yeah. So like good and evil gets very difficult to see, and it can change shades. I wouldn't want to. This is more of a philosophical debate than it is about D&D, but I wouldn't get too much into moral relativism, where everything is just how you perceive things and everything. I think that it is more complicated, and I think some moral philosophers, contemporary moral philosophers today, have spoken of it as like kind of a moral landscape. That there is still kind of like an ultimate. There's a paragon idea of like, what is good and what is evil. And, every culture sort of has their own ideas and interpretations of good and evil and how they see, people that are on their borders and everything. Both sides may see one another as evil and both sides may actually be good or evil or however you want to say it. But, we don't need to devolve into just like, good and evil is an illusion, and everybody has their own versions of good and evil, and there's no point in trying to find an ultimate good and evil in the world, because it's always informed by some different religion or some different ideology and blah blah blah. I don't want to get sucked into that.
Yeah, I guess that is true.
I think
keep it simple in terms of just D&D.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to get into a full philosophical debate. We can if that's what people want, but. In terms of D&D, I do think that there is an ultimate good and evil, and that's one of the things that I love about D&D. I love exploring moral philosophy.
Yeah,
through Dungeons and Dragons, and whatever you would call it with law and chaos philosophy as well. I think those are sort of the ultimate ideas when you start getting into like level 15 plus. You start thinking about things in terms of the grand order of the alignments.
In terms of like the multiverse, sort of at that point.
Yes, you're talking about like conflicts over the fate of the universe when you start getting to like level 20 territory.
Agreed. How long have we been talking, by the way?
We're coming up on a minute 10, or an hour and 10.
All right, I think it's probably a good point to stop here. So we spent a lot of time talking about specifically law and chaos. Yeah. Talked a little bit about good and evil, which I think that's we can talk a lot more about good and evil.
Do you want to go through? I'm sure people have like their lists and everything of like the paragon saints of each alignment or whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
like, we can your favorite when you think of lawful good, what is the perfect prime example of lawful good? There's definitely people fill up entire charts with these kinds of things.
Yeah, like there's an alignment chart.
There's a whole bunch of people that are lawful good in the world. Every alignment. Really.
For every form of media, there's a fucking alignment chart. Mm. Like when I think of lawful good, I think of Superman. I guess that's my number one lawful good person.
I guess so. So all right. So lawful good, is not just. It's not
Before
the ultimate.
You get going, it's not we are wrapping up.
I know. I don't want to get. Yeah, I don't want to get fully into it. But lawful good is not like the ultimate good, all right? No. I would say neutral good, all right, is the purest form of good, all right? It is undeterred by either competing force of law and chaos, all right? You will do, like, no matter what, you will do the right thing in your mind to minimize the suffering of friends, family, and those around you. You're neutral good. If you do good at any cost. Being lawful good means that you are, kind of bound by a code, and in some ways, being lawful good can sort of limit the things that you feel you are able to do because you're bound by something. And being chaotic good sort of means that you are a little bit more radicalized. You sort of abhor systems and structures, and you kind of go with the wind on your own moral philosophy, constantly changing things up, being more rambunctious and everything, good at no matter what kind of things. I think ends justify the means can get into more evil territory and stuff like that. That's probably a whole other topic of conversation.
Yeah,
probably. But yeah, I would say Superman is probably lawful good. And then neutral good.
I don't know. I mean, whenever I think of the alignment charts, the four I think of the most are probably like lawful good. For me, chaotic good would be like a Han Solo. Chaotic evil was Joker.
Han Solo is actually easy or interesting because Han Solo, I think, does kind of start out as sort of like more of a chaotic neutral.
But he becomes chaotic good over time he does. And then, like, of course, Darth Vader being
lawful evil.
Lawful evil.
Yeah. Such a great alignment. I know.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so Darth Vader, lawful evil. Neutral good. I've seen Spider-Man before. I think Spider-Man is probably, with great power comes great responsibility. It is very fitting to me that I think Spider-Man is kind of the purest good form of things, and he's definitely doesn't have everything figured out as far as moral righteousness is concerned. But I think that he's somebody that is constantly trying to do the right thing, knows his place in the world, and ultimately is always trying to do the right thing for everybody.
Yeah,
and I think that's what ends up working against him sometimes. He sometimes has to break the rules, and he sometimes has to go with the rules, and it's constantly Spider-Man. I could probably make Spider-Man do his own conversation too.
Yeah.
Chaotic good. Well, we're wrapping up. We got more to go through. Do you want me to stop here?
Let's stop here. We'll stop here because this will keep going.
Okay.
We want to hit that sweet spot of like just a bit over an hour.
We can go to an hour 30. We can do this.
I'm cutting it short. Putting the kibosh down.
We're not even halfway through the alignment.
If you want more, I guess you got to come back for more episodes, and we'll return to alignment in the future.
All right, I guess we'll return to this if people care enough. If people ask for it to come back.
If this is something you guys want to hear more of, please do let us know.
I knew we would end up leaving stuff on the field anyway.
Yes. Also, while we get to our little self-promotions here at the very end, as always, you can follow us on Twitter at the handle of @WanPilGames, WANPILGAMES. Also, we have a Patreon page, which we have constant updates, and you guys will get access to these podcasts a week early, which is at patreon.com/WanPilGames. Also, we have launched a brand new website, wanderingpilgrimgames.squarespace.com. Make sure I have that link correct before I start handing that shit out.
My introduction on our website is second to none, I have to say.
It's second to mine. So, so you can check out our site. And the good thing about the site is we have a blog on there that also acts sort of like how our Patreon does to update things. We have links to places to find the podcast, which you can find it on places like Stitcher, Spotify. We have a couple other websites. There's links to our Twitter, our Discord, all that fun stuff. Also, I haven't put it up on the website just yet, but I'm going to put up a link to the Google survey where you guys can put forth topics for us to talk about for the podcast. For instance,
if you were yelling at your screen this entire time, you can let us know.
Yeah, if there's something that you think we missed, please let us know. So submit topics, submit questions, submit concerns. Maybe if there's something we said you agree with, something we said you hated, like let us know and we can talk about it. Because I know last episode we talked about fighting burnout, which was a topic sent in by a fan of the company, Will Lateyo. Good dude. So please, any comments, any critiques you can give us, the more the merrier. Also, if you do join our Discord, you get a chance to talk to us about all kinds of cool stuff, like our new products coming out soon, as well as updates on Steel Horizons and any other new content we have.
Man of Industry!
If you'd say Man of Industry one more time, I'm dissolving Wandering Pilgrim and going in alone. Alright,
I can make him his own audio series.
Whatever. So, as of now, in terms of our products coming out, at the time of recording this, it is currently June 20th. So by the time this is coming out, June 24th, which is the Monday coming up from when we're recording, is the release date of Against the Tide of the Pirate King.
Sweet.
The first adventure module from Wandering Pilgrim Games. And it is a shorter adventure module, starts at level 5, mostly it's a level 5 adventure. I've designed it to take more or less anywhere from 8 to 10 sessions. Something that's not a full campaign, it's not just a one-shot, something in that little sweet spot in the middle. So that will be out June 24th. Tyler, your race pack will be out in mid-July? End of July?
Mid-July.
Mid-July.
I also have some more, I started doing some sketches and some artwork. That should be up within the week, within a couple days or so.
Speaking of which, yes, thank you for mentioning that. We are in negotiations with some different artists about doing some artwork. Tyler himself does some pretty good artwork that he'll be...
I sketch. I can't really... I can get an idea across.
Yes. Well, and we've also opened up an Instagram account where we can share some art and share some... I've been tweeting out... Not tweeting. What's the... Insta-ing? Gramming?
Gramming?
Gramming? I don't know.
Gramming sounds like a thing that Instagram people
How do, fellow children?
Hello, fellow youngsters.
Yeah. So I've been sending out pictures of previews of different pages from the Against Tide of the Pirate King. So we can send out some different art and stuff like that. So we should have that stuff coming out to you guys pretty soon. Also, in terms of art, if you choose to support us on Patreon, we have 2 goals set. At $50 a month, we can commission probably a lower res black and white picture of something, where $100 a month we can do like a full page color picture of something for one of our products. Mm-hmm. So just something to keep so yeah.
As we get into our stretch goals with our Patreon, we can do more.
Yes. So the more patrons we have,
patrons.
The more patrons we have, the more backing, the more we can do to give back to you guys. Whether it's commissioning art, paying for formatting and editing, or even just, improvements to the podcast, everything will go directly back into our products.
Mm-hmm. I have a little bit of housekeeping as well.
Ooh.
As far as where I'm going to be. I feel like I should start plugging it.
Yeah, do it.
In July 27th and the July 28th, that Saturday and Sunday, is the New Jersey GamerCon.
Whoop whoop!
And I've worked there before. I should say I've volunteered there before as a dungeon master the year prior, and I was asked by the guy running it to do it again, to volunteer in dungeon master.
Guy running it, hear that shit? We're big time.
Yeah. I don't know if I should. Yeah, Mike Smith. Mike Smith is really cool. So anyway, anybody out there, obviously, I'll start tweeting about it too, leading up to it, because it's coming up pretty quick. It's only like it's a little more than a month away.
Yeah, we'll start gramming.
Start gramming. Start gramming.
Gramming
Yeah.
about it. Yep.
I'll be.
Find it on the gram.
So I'll be there
It's
Saturday,
a world
Sunday.
where we gram.
I'll be there Saturday, Sunday. It's cool. Mike Smith is actually running a second edition, an advanced D&D one shot, which I am very excited about. I do not get enough interaction at all with Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. And then that Sunday, I will be running my own one-shot, which will probably... I don't know if I can plug about this yet or whatever, but writing a one-shot for... what's his name? Darren?
Darren? Yeah, so...
Darren, yeah.
Also...
That's a while away. But
yeah, that's a while. We're currently working on another project that I don't think we should be talking about just yet.
Okay. Yeah,
I didn't say it's an anthology for newer writers to the DMs Guild, so we will probably have more information for that.
But yeah, I was working on this one shot before for the New Jersey GamerCon, and I'll probably expand upon that as we play it. But yeah, that's what I'll be running, a 5th edition one shot for that. Probably be hanging out at the New Jersey GamerCon. So if you guys feel like coming out to the New Jersey GamerCon, or if you'll be there anyway, I will be there. Hopefully, Mike. I would love to see you.
That will be the weekend after my wedding.
So obviously you'll be ready to have honeymoons over at the New Jersey GamerCon.
That's where my honeymoon's
That's
going.
where your fiance definitely wants to go.
Well, of course she does. She refused to be on the podcast today, but yeah, she wants to be.
She definitely wants to be at the Marriott off of Route 73.
Yeah!
For her honeymoon.
Awesome!
Obviously. Okay, never mind.
Anyway. I will try to be there, though, because I would like to be there. But yeah, so if you are local, please do check us out. Other than that, I think the only other big thing is just that we're always looking for playtesters, and we're looking to start running some one-shots, doing a playtesting lab, just volunteers for one-shots, then test out our products, test out different classes. So if you're interested, let us know. Follow the links to our website, to our Twitter, to our Patreon.
Drop us a line.
Yeah. Like, comment, subscribe! Oh, I felt dirty saying that. I don't like that at all. All right, so, as always, guys, thank you so much for coming by. I have been Mike.
And I have been Tyler.
He did the face again. And as always,
keep wandering.
Okay, but back to the
really important
conversations. I love Tron more than you do.
Fat chance.
Okay, once again, I love Tron. End of line.
I told you things about Tron. You didn't even know.
I love Tron. End of line.
I explained things about Tron.
End of line.
You can't just put up end of line.
End of line. End of line. Ha!
So just blah 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 blah
blah blah blah blah blah blah. I'm just talking. This is my talking voice, doing different things, really talking about stuff.
Don't want to break levels. Don't want to probably will level. Ooh, keeping it down to 51. Okay, so there I was brought. Blah 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 blah.
Were we recording that?
My name is Tyler, and I like to record. I like to record on my microphone, 'cause I'm trying not to break levels.
Were you recording all that?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Oh, I'm still recording.